Hey everybody, it's Rob here. The Barbarian has 4 weapons. This has been basically a widely discussed topic in terms of class balancing in the community since the very launch of Diablo 4, because balancing around it has certain challenges. And we might get more insights in the campfire chat later today, but PC Gamer actually did an interview here with class leader Adam Jackson and I think another couple other people from Blizzard. And they have actually discussed this very topic. So I just quickly wanted to show this to you because I think many have missed this and their philosophy on this. And I will also give my opinion at the end. I'm going to link the interview in the descriptions here. So big shout out here to PC Gamer. And yeah, let's get into the interview. So they are basically following the rule of cool is Blizzard's solution to Diablo 4's Barbarian problem, and it's going to juice up other classes to compensate. So right off the bat, I really like this approach. Rather than, you know, nerfing the Barbarian's ability to wield and use 4 weapons in combat, they are rather looking into buffing other classes. And it looks like they are starting with the Necromancer this season. So yeah, basically long discussion here. For context, the Diablo 4 classes gain the majority of their power from weapons. Like you get aspects and you get a bunch of stats. All your skills deal damage based on the strength of your weapons, and each weapon you can have strongest legendary powers, aspects, etc. And then in the interview that happened last week here with class lead Adam Jackson, he was asked how we are balancing the classes basically with the introduction of Season 4's new tempering crafting system that lets you stack even more powerful stats onto your items. So the response was here, understandably, Jackson looked like he aged 1,000 years, and he reflected on the difficulties, I can imagine, of trying to wrangle this class in. So the fantasy is really cool of Barb having 4 weapons, yes. We also think that it feels really awesome that you have access to more weapons, and you get little more legendary power flexibly and things like that. And I totally agree with him. Like on a Barb level, it feels like just so cool. Like you're literally like the master of like all the different weapons in the game. You can choose like which weapon you want your attacks to, your skills to attack with, and things like that. I think that's like a pretty cool system in general here, where you can like auto select and just basically attack with whichever weapon you want to. And it just feels really cool, like, to see on the Barb, like, from a gameplay perspective. And also from, like, theory crafting. So he further noted here, the answer to this problem, he explained, could be something really kind of lame. Like only activating legendary powers for weapons the Barbarian is actively swinging or changing how they work for Barbarians. So yeah, that would be a very lazy and bad solution, I agree. If, you know, you have this, like, different legendary aspects on the weapon, and only if you're attacking with your mace is the mace legendary active. I totally agree with Adam here that this would be not really a solution the player base would be happy with. They would also be kind of lame, so I'm happy that he also said it would be a kind of lame solution. So what he's saying instead, rather than do that, what we are thinking right now on the team is we are trying to juice up other classes in their mechanics and other things to keep up with that power level, basically. And now the classes have parried that way. Jackson implied it'll be an ongoing progress over the next major balance patches. So we can probably assume that there's more buffs to other classes coming, but pointed to Necromancers as the first class in line. And yeah, if you guys have seen the recent pet videos that I've shown, or that people have been putting out on the PTR, the Minion Book of the Dead and Necromancers in general are very, very strong at the moment. In Season 4, their undead minions will be more powerful than ever before. Hell yeah, and I like it. Your Bone Mages can cast your Bone Spear skills, which gains every bonus the character would get for using them. And the Golem can call down a hail of bone spikes on enemies. On early playtest server or PTR last month, Necromancer minions were strong enough to nearly one-shot Uber Lilith all on their own, which Jackson said it's far off where they'll be when the season launches next month. Isn't far off. So it's probably safe to assume that the power level is actually probably going to stay, but we will see later today. That's important to us. Minion Necromancer should feel crazy good. So the intent is make minions good and bring up, at least in this patch, the power level of the Necromancer to the Barb. I still think like classes like Rogue still need a lot more juice, and I think that is probably going to happen then in Season 5, which I really like. It's a pretty cool thing. So yeah, all in all, I think this is great changes. I'm not sure like what Necros they're referring to, because if you've seen the Necros here, this is like some PTR footage. I don't know, one-shotting Uber Lilith, like this guy is hitting like in the billions with the Golem Necro. Like I've seen some screenshots here, like this one here, 6.6 billion, 3 billion, and this is basically how it looks right now with a Minion Necro versus the Uber bosses. Like they're just, like the Golem crits once and they lose like almost all of their HP. And you can kind of see here on some of them like how it just, boom, like kills them for, again, this number here is I think 3.5 or 3.8 billion damage that the Golem is doing here with its active. Yeah, you can see it here, 3.8 billion damage. So I'm not sure what they're referring to here, nearly one-shotting Uber Lilith. Uber Lilith has like 40 million HP. And this guy is hitting in the billion range. And I did some math here with the current hits. This is like on live server, 25 million. And the math kind of adds up. Like the Necromancer actually gets a multiplier of like 250 or something. And the biggest part is obviously pets inheriting all your stats, but also here this Golem Mastery giving it 8 times damage on just one passive. So yeah, I think Necromancer is in a really cool spot. And in general, the idea is so cool of, you know, rather than nerfing the fun out of Barb, they just buff the other classes to be on a similar level. So to get there, Blizzard had to apply what Jackson referred as to the rule of cool. If you can't tell why it's awesome, like if we only increase damage numbers or something, that's not enough for something like a class mechanic, he said. We want to make sure these things feel different and awesome and cool. So not only, like basically they don't want to just buff the numbers, they want to buff like, you know, a cool new mechanic like the active golem here, or where the golems now shoot your bone spears. Things like that I think is just like a very cool thing to see. We added these things to Necromancers because we want to measure up to that cool factor that Barbarian has. And Barbarian, I mean, look at the guy, like, I'm like, yeah, he definitely has that cool factor that Adam Jackson is referring to. I mean, look at him, like, just swing the weapons or, like, use some of their skills. It's just so much fun to play around with and then switch the weapons and have, like, all these different effects. Also, like, insane life pools, insane attack power pools, like, if you want it, of course. But there's so much cool stuff that the Barb has in his arsenal. And if we can get this kind of thing to other classes, it would be pretty cool. I'm actually looking forward to play and test some Necromancer next season as well. So that's kind of what we're trying to hit for the classes, these mechanics and things to get their powers feel very unique, and the fantasy is there. Is also impactful. You can look forward to more on that in the future. Maybe, for example, on Sorc we'll get like a 3rd enchantment slot or something. People have been wishing this in the community for quite some time, and I think it would be a cool idea to just give it another skill slot. Sorry, Barbarians, it sounds like you won't be the only class blasting through Season 4's toughest dungeons when it launches on May 14th. Well, I certainly hope not. But yeah, I think the Minion Necro is flying sky high there. It's the Necromancer's time to shine. Well, hopefully also the Rogues, Druids, and the Sorceresses ones. But I have no doubt. I mean, there's many, many strong builds. Like there's the Tornado Druid that is probably the highest not bug damage in the game. That is just, you know, melting these bosses here on Druids. So I think the only class I'm really worried about, like this is the hardest boss in the game, just killed in 5 seconds on the Druid. The only class I'm really worried about is Rogue. But you guys can let me in the comments what you think about current class balance. I think Rogue could need a bit of more juice up. I have, right now in my draft, I have not a single Rogue build in S tier. So we'll see. Rogue just feels a bit underwhelming. But yeah, I'm very happy for the Necromancers, especially for a summon build. I remember playing Mendel Necro early on when the game launched, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm looking forward to play a Minion Necro here as my second class after we made the Barbarian. Gotta be pretty cool. But yeah, that's basically also my opinion. Like the Barb, yeah, the 4 weapons seem very strong. I think, you know, most of the current legendary powers are somewhat, I'm saying somewhat balanced. Because you have like 4 on the Barb, basically, but they have way smaller numbers. You compare this one here, with Limitless Rage, for example, as a Barb only multiplier, it gives you 1.6 on a two-hander. And you compare this to, I don't know, something the Necromancer has, Shadow Blight, where you get like 240% on a two-hander. So I think the numbers on Barb for the legendary powers have already kind of been adjusted. But now, with Season 4, there is the Tempering, there is the Masterworking that's coming on top of this. And this is an example here of a weapon, how this is like a weapon I found on the PTR. This was like one of my best weapons. This is how the new weapons will look like for Barbarians. And I think this might need some further tweaking. We'll probably see this today in the dev stream where, you know, like Barbarian having this like 200 close damage on 4 weapons, or like this Dust Devil size multipliers and like other things like, you know, you have like, you know, like insane size on a bunch of skills, because you can basically put it on 4 weapons, right? Like, I'm all for Barbarian being strong, but I also want there to be a good class balance. And I think Necromancer is a right move in that direction. And I feel, again, like the legendary powers for Barbs are somewhat balanced already, but the tempering affixes, some of them at least, seem very strong if you add them on 4 weapons. So I'm not sure what the solution for that will be, or if there even will be a solution. But I think this could be a point where I could see this, you know, coming a bit down to be more, for Barbarian, to be more in line with the other classes. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I mean, I love Barb. I'm always for Barb. I'm going to play Barb no matter what. But let's be fair here, guys. I think it is having this temporal affixes on 4 weapons to the degree that we have is very strong. They could keep it for a season or so, but I think long-term health of the game, either the other classes need to come way up, like the Necromancer did now, or this needs to be slightly addressed on the Barb. But yeah, it's my opinion. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below. But in the end, I'm just really happy with their approach here, that basically the rule of cool is pretty cool from Blizzard. Rather than nerfing the Barb and bringing the Barb and the fun down, they are just planning on juicing up other classes, like they just did with the Necromancer. I'm very excited. I'm going to be live here in a few hours, and we're going to go and see what they have in store for us in the Campfire dev stream. I'll see you soon. Take care, my friends. GG. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.